The Minnesota Vikings just revealed that Derek Carr will be their quarterback next season. We're going to talk about it on today's edition of Vikings Out by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman, and I need everybody to put on their detective hats before we dive into today's shows because we're going to be diving into the weeds of the Vikings coaching staff and talking about a big-time connection that specifically Jordan Traylor has with Derek Carr. So the Vikings assistant offensive coordinator, Jordan Traylor, he's been highly sought out this entire offseason by other teams, specifically the Las Vegas Raiders. But he is now expected to stay in Minnesota, and Traylor's relationship with head coach Kevin O'Connell was a driving force to remain with the Vikings. So obviously that could have been the main driving force to have him wanting to stay in Minnesota with the Vikes. But what if it was because a potential quarterback could be joining the Minnesota Vikings? Derek Carr. Now, Jordan Traylor worked very closely with Derek Carr in New Orleans. And if you guys don't know, there are some rumors out there that Derek Carr could potentially unretire and join back in the NFL and potentially play with a contender. So maybe it makes some sense if he wants to go return with a guy who is working hand in hand with him in New Orleans. And also, they used to have double practices on the daily back in their times, very similar to how Grant Udinski, when he was with the Minnesota Vikings in 2024, he would stay after Sam Darnold, stay after with J.J. McCarthy, and be their right-hand man. Seems like Jordan Traylor had the same relationship with Derek Carr and the Saints when they were both in New Orleans. And what I think is really interesting here, the Raiders, they offered Traylor an upgrade. They offered him the quarterback coaching position, which is obviously an upgrade compared to assistant offensive coordinator. Now, the Raiders just hired Quinn Kubiak. Quinn Kubiak was also in New Orleans. So him and Traylor already have a relationship. And also the Raiders are getting the number one pick in the draft, Fernando Mendoza. So that's a lot of juice heading in the Raiders' direction. Where if you're the quarterback coach for Mendoza, you have your guy Quinn Kubiak, you could easily get an offensive coordinator job the next year and potentially see your path to becoming a head coach in the NFL. But why did he not take that job? And that's where my Brian Windhorst finger started going off here. Why would Jordan Traylor want to just stay with the Minnesota Vikings, just be the assistant offensive coordinator? Yes, he probably has a great relationship with Kevin O'Connell, or maybe he's going to reconnect with Derek Carr, potentially. I just think that is the first breadcrumbs of potentially, Derek Carr coming to the Minnesota Vikings. I was going to do a whole show on Derek Carr and the Vikes, and you start reading these breadcrumbs of potentially Jordan Traylor. It does make a lot of sense. But you guys let me know, Derek Carr, do you want him as a quarterback for the Vikings next season? Give me a Y for yes. Give me an N for no. You guys let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. I'll give you guys my thoughts here in a second, but you guys let me know. Do you want Derek Carr as QB1 next season? Now, we'll say on paper, Derek Carr checks a lot of boxes for what the Vikings want with a quarterback they're bringing in. Like, clearly the Vikings, they want a veteran quarterback with a lot of experience. He's played in the NFL for a very long time, has some playoff experience as well. So it makes sense because he is a veteran QB. And also, he would be on an affordable contract, assuming they're going to tear up his old contract with the Saints. So he would be on an affordable deal. And then also, I think he gives the Vikings offense an incredibly high floor and somewhat of a high ceiling. Like, I still think Derek Carr, he's always been one of the best deep ball throwers in the National Football League. He excels at throwing over the middle of the field. So, schematically, the fit makes a lot of sense with Kevin O'Connell's offense. And I think the floor would be obviously through the roof because Derek Carr, obviously, he's never reached a mountaintop. He's never been, probably a top 10 quarterback at some point in his career, but he's for sure been top 12. He's for sure been top 15. And, yes, this was 10 years ago, but, if the Vikings got 2015, 2016 Derek Carr, they're probably a Super Bowl contender. Back in 2015, Carr was fantastic. 32 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. 2016, very good as well. 28 touchdowns, 6 picks, playing some great football. But even 2 years ago, Derek Carr was playing some great ball. This was when the Saints, if you guys remember the 2024 season, they lit up the Carolina Panthers. And then they go to Dallas, and they light up the Cowboys' defense. We were talking about the Saints being the greatest show on turf in the 2024 season. And Derek Carr was a big reason of it. He was throwing those deep balls to Rashid Shaheed. Him and Olave had a great relationship. And he had 15 touchdowns, 5 picks that year, had a 5-5 record, and that was with the Saints. That was with the Saints 2 years ago. So those are some connections. You're starting to see some overlaps. But also this. How about Frank Smith, Vikings assistant head coach? He was the tight ends coach with the Raiders back in 2018 to 2020. Well, who was the quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders during that time? It was Derek Carr. So Derek Carr, he's got a relationship with the assistant offensive coordinator. He's got a relationship now with the Vikings assistant head coach. But the question comes down to, does he view the Minnesota Vikings as a Super Bowl contender? Derek Carr said he's only coming out of retirement if he views the team he is joining can win the Super Bowl. Does he view the Vikings as that? My argument would be absolutely you should view the Vikings as that. They will no doubt have a top 5 defense with Brian Flores returning. I have my gripes with Kevin O'Connell. I still think he's a top 15 offensive play caller in the National Football League. You have the best wideout in the league in Justin Jefferson. You got 2 bookend tackles. You have a great infrastructure where if you get top 10, top 8 quarterback play, absolutely you could contend for a Super Bowl, also considering how wide open the NFC is right now. I think the Vikings got Derek Carr. I'm not guaranteeing Derek Carr would give them that top 10 quarterback play, but from Derek Carr's perspective, there's no better situation than the Minnesota Vikings if you're looking at all of these other teams in the NFL that need a quarterback. So we talked about all the connections that Carr has in this organization. How about the connection with the freaking head coach? This is absolutely hysterical. This was 12 years ago to this week. NFL scouting combine going on right now in Indianapolis. Well, guess who interviewed Derek Carr when he was coming out of Fresno State? It's former San Diego State quarterback Kevin O'Connell. He was doing interviews at the scouting combine 12 years ago. Now he's the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings. So I'm guessing they have a decent relationship. I mean, those Mountain West rivalries, I'm sure, ride pretty deep there with Fresno State and San Diego State. But you guys let me know, how many games would the Vikings win with Derek Carr? I think the floor is 9 games. You got an easier schedule than last year. You went 9-8 with some horrible quarterback play. If I had to call my shot, I'd say the Vikings go 11-6 with Derek Carr. You guys let me know your thoughts down below in the comments section. I want to talk about this a little more coming up in just a second, but let me tell you about today's presenting sponsor. That is Harry's, a shaving company, the razor. Absolutely awesome. And for a limited time, our listeners can get the Harry's Plus trial set for only $10 at harrys.com/chat. Now, everything in my life has leveled up, but not my razor. My phone is basically a supercomputer. My car parks itself. My headphones cancel noise like magic, but my razor, it's still flimsy, still overpriced, and still stuck in 2008. But that's not the case at Harry's. Harry's has the heaviest razor handle ever, made from metal, never plastic, designed to fit comfortably in your hand. Heavier handle means more control and a luxe feel. And Harry's also just doesn't make razors. They've got a full line of grooming essentials from shave gel to deodorant to body wash, all thoughtfully made and priced to stock up. All of Harry's blades and grooming products can be delivered right to your door. Set your preferred schedule and never run out of blades again. So for a limited time, our listeners can get the Harry's Plus trial set for only $10 at harrys.com/chat. The set includes the all-new Harry's Plus razor, 1 refined 5-blade cartridge, a 2-ounce foaming shave gel, and a travel cover to protect your blades on the go. Just head to harrys.com/chat to claim this offer. And after you purchase, ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you here at Vikings Now by Chat Sports. It's obviously Derek Carr. He still has his rights with the New Orleans Saints. So a lot of you guys might be wondering, well, what type of draft capital or capital at all that the Vikings would have to give up to get his rights from New Orleans? I think it's a 7th-round pick, and I think this is the most a team would have to give up. Now, for the biggest reason of this, I don't think the Saints have, 1, any leverage in this situation, and also 2, they're probably just going to want to do Derek Carr right and let him go to whatever team he wants. So if the Vikings, maybe, and when I say it's a 7th-round pick, I could see maybe the Vikings giving them a 6th-round pick and getting a 7th back, and it's one of those classic swaps. But for a 7th-round pick to get Derek Carr, I like that option a whole lot. And also, I think Carr would probably have to tear up his contract. I'm pretty sure he's on the books for $35 million for whatever team he ends up joining in the 2026 season. I'm assuming that they'll just tear that contract up. He'll sign maybe a 1-year, $10 million deal, whatever it may be. I could even see Carr, like if he's coming out of retirement, he's coming out to win Super Bowls. I could see him being on a very team-friendly deal. Let's just say it's 1 for 4, 1 for 5. But, it's going to take a 7th-round pick, probably $4 or $5 million. I think Derek Carr is slowly moving up my power rankings of who I want as QB1 next season if it's not J.J. McCarthy. But we got to talk about it. Big news of the NFL today. The Falcons have confirmed to Kirk Cousins this week that they will release him on the first day of the league year. GM Ian Cunningham told 929 The Game said out of respect for Kirk and Michael is his agent, felt like that was the right decision. Now, Kirk Cousins could still return to the Atlanta Falcons. That's not completely out of the equation, but it is seeming unlikely right now. And I will say this, the Kirk Cousins rumors are going to drive me absolutely insane this offseason. We talked about the Aaron Rodgers rumors last year. Those are driving me insane. The Kirk Cousins rumors are going to drive me more insane because I just don't think Kirk makes too much sense for this Vikings team unless J.J. McCarthy is the no-doubt starter next season. If you want Kirk as the backup, okay, sign me up. But I could even make an argument he's too noisy of a backup in Minnesota because J.J. has a couple bad games. Everybody's going to be up in arms. People are going to be chanting Kirk at U.S. Bank Stadium. Kirk would be a fine backup if you could eliminate the noise that he brings, but I don't want Kirk being the 17-game starter. Give me Derek Carr. Derek Carr's got a bigger arm. He's a couple years younger. I still think he's got better football out in front of him to be played. I mean, Kirk tore his Achilles at 37 years old. That's a tough injury to bounce back from. He played some decent football last year in Atlanta, but I just still think if Kirk went to the Vikings, you're limiting yourself on what you're going to be next season. You're probably going to be a 10-7 team. And also the Vikings, we couldn't win with Kirk Cousins in his prime. Are we going to win with 38-year-old Kirk? I don't think so. I'd rather take a chance on somebody else. Derek Carr, schematically, it makes a lot of sense. He's got a lot of connections to this coaching staff. And I think Kevin O'Connell, I think he would be absolutely thrilled to land Derek Carr and just also get a veteran in this room. They need maturity at the quarterback position. And I think that's what they're – we can talk about JJ's injuries. We can talk about his on-the-field play. I just think the Vikings are lacking a mature grown-up at the QB spot. And McCarthy's not that right now. And can he grow up? Can he stay healthy? Can he improve his accuracy, his mechanics? There's just a lot of boxes that he needs to check for him to prove to this whole organization and his teammates that he can be the quarterback. But guys like Kirk Cousins, even obviously Derek Carr, like they check a lot of those boxes already because they have been there. They've done that. They're mature. They're veterans in the quarterback room. So you guys let me know. If it's between Kirk and Derek Carr, pick a quarterback for me. Derek Carr or Kirk Cousins. And also hit that subscribe button on your way out. We're closing in here on 70,000 subs on YouTube. So hit that subscribe button today. See you guys next time. As always, go Blacks.